Oh, hello everyone. Hi, I'm Leanne, and this is Diamonds and Doxies. If you're new to the channel, I'm glad you found me, and I hope you will consider subscribing and giving the video a thumbs up if you like it. And if you're not new and you've been around, well, thank you for coming back. Whether you've been here from the beginning or you just found me a couple of weeks ago, either way, don't matter. I'm glad you're back. And yeah, so we're gonna do a WIP and chat. And I am still working on, and I will be working on for quite a while, this Alphonse Mucha kit from Diamond Painting Shop, and it's Moon 1902. I guess that means he did other moons, but this is the one that was from 1902. And I will show you here. This is what it looks like. If I could get this to lay flatter. Let's see, let me try this. Yeah, let's try that and see if that helps. So yeah, the Moon, 1902, Alphonse Mucha. It's licensed, and I think with Muchas, the family does have a trust, so they do get paid. It is 15 by 7 inches by 39.4 inches, or 40 by 100 centimeters. There are square ABs, and there are 47. Yeah, 47. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABs. So, yeah. That is that. Let me get me a sip of my water and my pen. This is my storage system I'm using. This is the Art Dot. It's actually it's from the 2-drawer storage system. I have it sitting over here. Muni-made tray that I got in a kit. And yeah, and my pen is from Butterfly Effect Wares. I think it's called Spring. I don't know. I don't remember. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get this party rocking, shall we? I'm really loving this. Instead of 310 outlining it, it's 310 AB. And I'm just really loving it. You can see it all in through here. I'm here for it. I like it. This kit is a little gappier than what I'm used to, but you know, it's not killing me. It's not, I've had a lot worse, let's put it that way. So yeah. Oh gosh, I just went completely blank, y'all. My gosh. Okay, well, let's start, because it has been a minute, or at least things have happened since I last filmed a WIP and chat. So I went in yesterday to a new orthopedic surgeon doctor. It's trash. I do have a lot of trash with this kit, I will say. And I know of him. He's been in the area forever. Forever. So he's got to be in his 60s. But he's fighting it, I can tell you that. But anyway, he comes highly recommended. I mean, if you ask anyone around this area who's a good shoulder doctor, his name is always going to come up. So, and he used to be with my other shoulder doctor who did my right shoulder, which I could have gone to him, but I was like, you know, I think I'm going to try this. So I did. And I think I told you, I don't know, that, you know, the other doctor, it's not that I did not like him, okay? It's just, I don't want to say I didn't feel heard, because I feel like that's such a cliche. But that's basically it. I did not feel like, I had a hard time thinking anybody was actually hearing what I was saying. And that's really bothersome for me, because that is usually all of my doctors are through the same hospital, you know, because it makes my life easier. But, you know, sometimes you just got to venture out and see if there's somebody else. So, yeah, I did. And I absolutely, in fact, when they did my shoulder x-ray, and they had me do this I was like, well, I already had a shoulder x-ray. Why do I have to do this again? Well, let me tell you, this shoulder x-ray was way more in depth, and they had me move my arm in the positions that it hurt the most. So yeah, they got some really good readings on it, and you know, he looked over my MRI, and he was like, your shoulder, you know, you've got a lot of stuff going on in that shoulder, and all of it can cause shoulder pain. So he goes, I can just take one part of you. You've got tendinosis in like all of your tendons around your shoulder. You got fraying of those tendons. He said, I can take just that and nothing else, and that's going to cause you shoulder pain. He said, then you've got these tears and a bone spur. He said, well, that's not going to help anything either. You know, that's not going to get any better either. And on their own, that right there can create shoulder pain. He said, then you also do have a little bit of frozen shoulder. And he said, and that right there can also cause shoulder pain. So he said, you've got more going on than just one thing. And, you know, it just seemed like my other doctor was, you just got one thing, you know, and so I don't know, you know, but anyway, I felt better with him. He felt more like he knew exactly what he was doing, what he could do to fix it. And I said, let's do it. Let's get it fixed. So I immediately got surgery scheduled, and yeah, so I feel, and I hate that kind of stuff, because like you know, they kept calling me wanting to know why, and I was like, I don't want to, you know, it's like, can't you just accept the fact that I canceled? But they want to know why. So I was like, okay. And so I was trying to say as nice as possible, you know. And then finally she goes, so you went to get a second opinion and you decided to go with that doctor? And I was like, yes, that's exactly what happened. I was trying so tactfully to say it. And I'm like, I'm not very good with words. So I was like, yes. And then I was like, but I still like doctors, you know, this other doctor. And she was like, okay, I'm sure he'll know. And I'm like, okay. But then I thought, well, I probably won't go to him for anything else. You know, I'll probably just use this other doctor as my shoulder doctor. But what really gets me is I feel so betrayed that, you know, I have been asking for something for my shoulder, like an MRI or something, since October, okay? Since October. And that doctor, who was not a orthopedic surgeon doctor, she's a primary care physician who also did some courses in, you know, orthopedic. So she was like, no, you just have frozen shoulder, so we'll give you an injection, which, you know, that did work somewhat. I mean, it wasn't completely better, but it worked somewhat. And then, as you know, in February, when I moved, that's when I really jacked it up. I mean, like, totally jacked it up. And then from then I was like, you know, this feels like rotator cuff to me, because I had my right one done. Granted, it was, you know, 30 years ago, but still, you know, you remember types of pains, right? And like, well, no, we'll get an x-ray. And the x-ray is like, well, it looks, you know, the x-ray's fine. And I'm going, okay, well, then I find out you can't diagnose the shoulder issue with an x-ray, and apparently you couldn't even see the bony structures that were abnormal, because that was also on the MRI. But you know, when you get your report and you sit there and you read it, and it's 2 pages long, and it's saying stuff like severe, you know, and all you come back to me with, well, your MRI looks promising, doesn't look bad at all. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, what part of it looks okay to you? You know, because I'm not seeing it. And I mean, I don't know, the word severe, I mean, means something. And it does say a bony abnormality, which was not addressed when I went to my original doctor. So yeah, I mean, I just decided, nope, I'm going to go with a different doctor. And because, you know, I had asked my primary care to send, if she would order me an MRI. What she did was she was like, well, I'm going to send you to, I think you need to go see orthopedics and let them order it. Okay. Well, so that referral went in, and they called me, and well, it turns out I went to another doctor who was very similar to the first one, who, is primary care, but, I think she did, I don't know, some kind of, I don't know, online class. Not, I say that, I'm being ugly. No, I mean, she did something, a year of fellowship in orthopedics, but she don't even do shots, right? So she was like, there's no point in us ordering an MRI. You have frozen shoulder, and we don't need an MRI to know that. And I was like, that's when I found out she couldn't give injections, like, steroid injections, because, well, what she said was, well, I can't give you a steroid injection because insurance has to approve it first. Well, that is not true, first of all, okay? That is not true. And, but it was like, okay, I felt like there was whatever you do not let this woman get an MRI. Whatever you do, don't let it happen. So, I just, then I got the MRI and then went back to the, the bone doctor, and he was like, well, didn't look so bad, and, I think you should do more physical therapy, and, we'll go ahead and schedule, for me to break up the scar tissue, but, I think you should go ahead with physical therapy. And I go to physical therapy, and that doctor's like, that guy in there, the PT guy, he's like, he goes, you really should get a second opinion. And I said, well, I am. And even he said, he said, if I was getting my shoulder worked on, this is the doctor I would use. And he was right. So, yeah. So I wish there was some way I could get a hold to him to thank him. I don't know. I felt like, when you go see a doctor, you put your trust in them, you absolutely put your trust in them. And I get it. I'm not saying that I'm right and the doctors are wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to intimate that, because I'm not a doctor. I didn't, good Lord. I suck at all things math related. So yeah, no, not a doctor. Don't pretend to be a doctor. But I feel like I just wasn't heard, I don't know what would have been. Well, finally, he did order me an MRI, and with the same group that, I do all my medical stuff through. It was that, this was on June 4th, and their first available for an MRI was July 5th. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I need to get somewhere sooner. So I found an outside clinic and, went that route, which worked out better because then I could take those same reports to a different doctor, right? So yeah, when he scheduled me for surgery for the 15th, but the surgery center didn't have an opening. So I'm getting it on the 17th of July. I don't know what time yet, but she did say that I would be the first one of the day. So unless something changes, of course, but, yeah. So I'm gonna do that. I got fitted for my brace. He didn't do any of that for me, so I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I feel kind of bad, but then the other part of me feels a little angry. So I feel guilt, but I also feel angry that, y'all making me feel guilty. So I don't know. Like I said, part of me is like, well, maybe I need to move on to a different medical group, but I love my PCP. I've been going to her for 15 years. So, you know, I really don't want to find another one. But at the same time, I don't know. It was just easy, you know, to go into the same, because I have it on my chart, you know, and it's just easy. And then if I need a referral, they don't have to like, well, we have to wait for this doctor to transfer over a referral. You know, they can just send one, you know, in their own little email system there. Although I did not have a referral to go to this other doctor. I did tell my doctor, though, that I was going for a second opinion. And I was like, I sure hope, you know, this other doctor, Dr. Summerson, doesn't hate me. And she was like, no. You know, surgeons, that, you know, they know that, you know, they understand getting second opinion. She said, I'd get a second opinion too. Don't worry about that. But, you know, I do. Like, you know, maybe it's like from school where they put a mark on your name, you know, and then, I don't know, then all the teachers hate you. Oh, no. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. That's what I'm doing, I think. So I'll quit doing that. But I am ready to get this shoulder taken care of. I went today to get my nails done, and it's just hard. You know, it hurts my shoulder to, you know, because I have to lean. Well, yeah, I'm gonna have to, oh, God dang. Oh gosh, there I go. See, I'm gonna show you. So I have a tendency to keep this elbow up here like this and hold on to this part of the tray, but down here, and I can't do that. But I do it, and I don't realize it until I go to move it, and it hurts like hell. It starts aching real slow, you know, so you don't realize it until you're like, oh, I got to move my arm. And then you do, and it's like, ow. So I don't know what I'm going to be able to do for diamond painting. You know, I don't know what that's going to look like with this big old sling. It's not your average sling, and I have to keep my shoulder, or like instead of having my arm in front of me like this, it's got to go to the side. Oh, hang on. I can't do it. Anyway, it's got to hang to the side. So, yeah, I don't know how this is going to work out, but it'll be what it'll be. I mean, if I have to just switch over to something so simple, you know, then so be it. But, yeah. And I'll tell you something else that was cool. And I wish I'd have got more information from her. No, her name was Sarah. She was the tech, the x-ray tech at this new doctor's office. And I was looking on the walls, and they had these pictures hanging up, and they were like skeletons with flowers and stuff. And I thought, oh, that's a cute idea, you know, for an x-ray department. Well, then I was like, wait a minute, I recognize those. And then I was like, those are diamond paintings, you know, unless someone went to the actual artist, you know, but it's like, I think those are diamond art clubs. And so finally, when she came out to readjust my arm, I asked her, I said, are those diamond paintings? And she said, yeah, they sure are. I said, oh, I'm a diamond painter too. I love it. And she was like, I know, it's so addictive. So, you know, and then I was like, why didn't I tell her, you know, to come, you know, to find me on Facebook or YouTube or something, you know, and or maybe she already is a part of the diamond painting community, you know, I don't know. But if your name is Sarah, but she did say another tech in there did them, but she had them framed, and y'all, what a genius idea. I mean, I never would have thought to put skeletons. You know, now these weren't scary skeletons. They were skeletons with, you know, the flowers, you know, some of them just a skull. And I mean, as far as skeletons go, they were pretty. And anyway, so another tech did them. I don't know that she said her name, though. But yeah, if your name is Sarah, or you know who I'm talking about, say something. That would be so funny if you were in here. That would be so amazing. So yeah, there was that. But yeah. But while I was there, oh my gosh, y'all. So when I got there, I walked in, and, you know, it's a pretty good sized waiting area. And I thought, oh my God, you know, what is going on here? I mean, it was packed. It was absolutely packed. And when I walked in, the row of chairs were going this way with people facing this way. So I walk in and I see this female sitting here with purple hair, you know, which, you know, she looked young. So, I mean, that was pretty, I didn't think anything about it. And, you know, I noticed she was a little heavy, you know, again, you know, she kind of looked like the typical 20-something, you know, the goth kind of stuff. Well, she wasn't really in goth, but anyway, so when I came back to sit down, I noticed her shirt said, you know, something like, today's a good day to throat punch somebody or something. And I was like, gosh, that's really mean, you know, because I think if you throat punch somebody, you could like actually kill them. But anyway, so we were sitting there, and then one of the ladies, you know, that calls you back into the room, she had come out, and I heard her say, Amber, and then Amber, you know, louder, and that made all of us look around, and she was having a freaking seizure, y'all, a seizure. And, you know, we all felt bad because, you know, well, I wasn't really sitting in a way that I could see her unless I turned my head around there to see her, and I had no reason to do that. And, but, you know, the one lady's like, well, it started out real slow, you know. I mean, we thought maybe she had her headphones in and was listening to music or something, and she was just moving her head around. But I'm not sure what her story is, because the lady that worked there knew her name, which makes you think it's a patient. And then the people were saying, you know, she wasn't there with anybody, that somebody had dropped her off, and she went and sat on the curb for a while, and then came in and sat down, that they never saw her go up to the front or anything. So I don't know if she was just looking for a place to cool off. I don't know. But apparently the lady working there did, because she knew her name. And, yeah. So, you know, the doctor came out there, and he was like, well, I mean, is she a patient? Do we have any records on her? Do we know, you know? And I never did find that out. And then, because they called me back for my x-ray, and then when I got back out there, they were loading her up on the ambulance, which I was like, you know, about damn time. Because, I mean, at that point, I'd say she had been in a seizure for 30 minutes. I don't know much about seizures, but that doesn't sound good. And she couldn't talk. I mean, they kept asking her if she had taken any medication, or, you know, or is she, you know, prone to seizures. She couldn't answer. There, she kind of did like a little, like a growling kind of sound. But yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know. So of course, then of course I had to pray, and then I asked the other people, I texted people and said, you know, just need you to say a prayer for Amber. I'll tell you about it later. So hopefully she's okay. And I don't know if she, you know, if she had taken something. I would think if she was an epileptic, she would, you know, she had a lot of, you know, piercings and stuff. I would have thought, you know, she was prone to these, that she would have some sort of medical ID bracelet or something. But she didn't. And then I started thinking about my son, who's type 1 diabetic, and he too is supposed to wear something. And I can't tell you how many bracelets I bought him, and he just would not wear. But then his girlfriend bought him a cool one, you know, that's made of leather and stuff. But I haven't seen him wear it. So, I mean, he did when he first got it. That's how I saw it. But I don't know If I haven't seen it recently, so I think we're gonna go have lunch with him tomorrow. So I'm gonna ask him about that because, you know, you put the medical professionals, you put your own life at risk, first of all, because they just got to, you know, try to figure out what's wrong with you. If they know, you know, this person's an epileptic, then they know what the next thing they need to do, right? So, I don't know. But I don't know, you know, if she did some sort of illicit drug. I do not know. I just hope that she's okay today and has an appreciation for life, including her own. So I don't know, but you never know what's happening to somebody, you know. You just never know. That's why I've thought that I should carry some Narcan with me, you know. But I also should carry some glucose tablets. But you can't, I mean, a person who goes into a diabetic shock, they cannot chew, you know, so it has to be in some kind of a liquid form. So, I don't know. I'm trying to downsize my purse, y'all. Always, you know, because it's like, well, what are my essentials? I don't have that many essentials, right? I shouldn't. My wallet, which should hold my credit cards, my checkbook, my cash, right? And my phone, right? Well, yeah, that's right. But then I'm like, well, I've got to carry a little thing of some Advil, because, you know, you never know when a headache's going to come on. And then I need some hand moisturizer, because, you know, after when you're out and about and then you go to these bathrooms to wash your hands, and then it's like there's no lotion, so I got to put lotion on. Well, then I have to have something for my lips, you know, because, well, they get dry. Yeah, and then and next thing you know, of course, my phone is in there, and then I have to put my liquid sweetener that I use in my tea when I go places. You know, and before you know it, it's like, oh, geez. And then I have to have a pen, you know, because you never know when you're going to need a pen to write something down. Yeah. Yep. So I'm not real sure how to go about it. And I have a lot of rewards cards, and some of them you need the card. I don't know. But I do need to go through it and get rid of some of them because, yeah, I don't know. And honestly, I don't need to, well, I don't carry that many credit cards, I don't think. But then I got my debit cards. I got like 2 of those because they're for 2 different accounts. And, well, no, I don't need that anymore because they're down to 1. So there's that. And do I really need a checkbook? I don't think so. But, I mean, does anyone even take checks anymore? I could probably get rid of the checkbook. And these wallets, you know, it's a new wallet, and I just can't find a wallet that's really made to carry cash. It's like you put cash in there, and it's like, well, now I can't hardly close it. And it's not a lot. I mean, it was 2 20s and 2 1s, and it was like, my gosh. And forget coins. Forget coins, you know. Just forget about those. There's no room for coins at all. So, yeah. Alrighty, I think that's all of those arrows. So, yeah, but then you put a medicine cabinet in there. You know, back when the kids were little, or I say little, not really little, but just, you know, younger, I had to carry a lot of their crap. And I think it's funny, you know, that men are like, no, you know, you know, they have all this stuff, and guess who gets to put it in their purse? We do. Get you a Merce, okay? Some sort of man purse. But no. I don't know, maybe in Europe they have nurses. I think they do. I think I've seen them before. That is not going to fly over here. Well, I mean, it might. Not with the fellas I know. So. So, this morning, Mike said, hey, you want to go get catfish and see if your dad wants to meet us there? And I was like, well, absolutely. So, we went and met him for catfish. We went over to Pasadena. And that was nice. And then we went across the street to the Dairy Queen and got us some little ice cream cones. And it was good. So it was good to see him. He brought his Camaro, which I was really surprised to see because, I mean, it basically has racing slicks on it because it is fast. Now, don't ask me the particulars on it because I could not give it to you, but let's just say he used to race with it. So, yeah. And I think they only made these Camaros for, I don't know, for a couple of years in the earlier 2000s. But, yes, I was surprised that he brought it, but he said he needed to blow the pipes out. I said, okay, I understand. So, but yeah, he wants to sell it. So he wants to buy a new truck. He does and he don't. But what would help him is if he bought a new truck, then he'd have all the modern conveniences, you know, that would tell you, well, first of all, you'd have a bigger screen that he could, you know, do Bluetooth with. And then, but also a blind spot monitor. And because, you know, he has only one good eye, he can't see real well out of one eye. So it would be helpful to him if it had a blind spot monitor on it. So, yeah. So I don't know. He's been looking, and I think he said in all his years, he'll be 88 at the end of this month. He has only bought 2 new cars in his whole life. Everything else has been used. So I said, well, I think, you know, he did buy his Camaro new because that was the year they came out with whatever, I don't know, some kind of special something. He is a Chevy guy, and I am not. I am a Ford person. So, but he is not, so. So I don't know, I mean, and he doesn't know very much about Fords either. So, I told him, I said, you should. His grandson got a F-150 and a Ford, you know, and he was like, oh no, that's sacrilege, you know. And it's like, look, it's what he wanted. There's always got to be the teenager that rebels, right? But he said, I don't know why it bothers me, why I think I have to drive, you know, an American car. And I said, well, because we come from that generation of that's what you need to do. And, you know, I said, honestly, you know, I drive this Acura. I said, honestly, I don't like it, but, you know, it's good enough. It is good enough. Yeah. But anyway, I said, why don't you just get you a car, a sedan or an SUV or something? Because he's got 2 old trucks. Everything he's got is old, right? His Cadillac that he absolutely loves and does not want to get rid of. He's got to, you know, he's got to get rid of something. Well, he doesn't. So he's going to get rid of the Camaro, and then I guess the other trucks. They're classics, you know, from the 80s, which blows my mind because I'm like, how can anything from the 80s be classic? Well, yeah, it is. But anyway, I told him, I said, well, take me with you. I'd love to go car shopping on someone else's dime. Although this last car buying experience just, still have PTSD. No, I'm teasing. But still, I didn't like it. Not one a little bit. But I think Max has decided for his garage, he wants an old Harley Davidson, like from the 30s or the 40s. He wants it to run because he wants to putt around town in it. Not on the freeway, thank God, or anything like that. Just, you know, here on the back roads of town. He will probably do that by himself because I do like motorcycles, but I don't know. The older I get, the more I'm like, I want to live a little bit longer. You know, when I was younger, I was like, heck yeah, let's go. You know, now I'm like, is it dangerous? Yes. Yeah. But I just see the way people drive on the daily, you know, in my own personal vehicle, and I think, oh my gosh, you know, you have got to be watching out. People are swerving over into your lane. I don't know if they're on the phone or they're drunk or they're high. I mean, who knows what they are, but it's like, my gosh, you know, if that happens to you in a car, then it's like, oh darn, you know, now I gotta, you know, get a rental car, or maybe not even that, just take your car in and get the body work done and be done. But, you know, something like that in a motorcycle, you can break limbs, you know, if you're lucky, that's all that happens, right? We won't even talk about the road rash. And so I'm like, no, I'm a little, I don't want to participate in that. I do not. So, anyway, 823 to me is like 310. It's just a very trashy color. You can see, you know, how they're not all lining up. That's because there's trash. Like those two there, trash. Let's see. This one I think is just totally misshapen. Trash. Yeah. Oh, that one's misshapen too. Alright, so let's do this again. I think I'm gonna have to put some more in here. Alright, doing the equals. Yep, I'm definitely gonna have to put more in here. Oh dear. I did a terrible job at that. So did any of y'all order any of the mini dazzles? I think they've already come out. I think it was a special. Yeah. I didn't get any. I've got so many right now, and there really wasn't any. I thought, you know, the dogs might. If they had had a dachshund on there, I'd have bought the whole thing just for the dachshund, but they didn't. So, and I just didn't even, they really weren't that cute, in my opinion. So, for me, remember, this is my opinion. You are more than welcome to have your own. In fact, I highly encourage it. You'll be a happier person. A happier person. Oh, goodness gracious. Man, that Saharan dust, I don't know if y'all see that on the news or not, or if it's affecting you too, but my goodness. I guess that's what got me this morning. I mean, I got up, I was, you know, just hacking, and then blowing my nose. I was like, oh my gosh, here's another one of these that are bad. It's like, oh Lord. All right, where was I? Oh, jeez. Oh, here we are. There we go. Okay, 823, I need to add some more to this. Yeah, they just don't line up pretty for me. Yeah. So we got the 4th of July coming up. Oh, okay, that did go there. If you celebrate, you know, if you're in the U.S., what are your plans? For those that don't know, that is where we decided we didn't want to be under the rule of a king. And we won the Revolutionary War. So, and I'm happy to say that I do have ancestors who fought in that war. So, yeah. A lot of my ancestry is from, I mean, obviously I got a quarter Italian, but most of my, rest of my ancestry is in Europe. It's a lot of Ireland, Scotland. My grandmother was Scots-Irish. And then there's some British. And I want to say there's a teeny-nicey amount of German, but I don't remember. And Welsh. So, yeah. But a lot of Ireland and Scotland and England. A lot. And, you know, it's kind of weird to me when you read about, you know, the war and what was going on then and things like that, and realizing that, well, first of all, the coin or the money was the British, you know, it was the British pound. And that blows my mind, you know, when you're reading old diary entries and stuff, they're doing it all in the pounds. And I'm like, get out of town, you know, well, of course, you know, but I never thought about it, you know, I guess. And then, you know, they all spoke British, you know, with British accents. Well, of course they did. It's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, there's, of course, on my grandfather's side, with the Italian side, is Roman Catholic. But on my grandmother and my father's side is a lot of Quakers. A lot of Quakers. And yeah, the town I live in was founded by Quakers. So that's pretty cool. I like that. And, you know, they came over because, you know, religious persecution. And they were anti-slavery. So, which is another good thing to me. But yeah, I haven't found any of my, like, you know, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents, stuff like that. Now, I haven't gone through all the uncles and aunts and stuff like that because, oh my God, I forget how many you end up with if you go back far enough. You'll end up with a whole bunch of grandparents too. But, you know, I have no record of them owning any slaves. I know my grandmother's father did not. Of course, I don't think you could. I don't think you could. I don't know, to be real honest with you. My grandmother was not the baby, but the second to the baby, and she was born in 1912. What she did remember, though, was they had migrant workers that were Hispanic that came and helped in the fields. They just helped, though. They weren't the whole labor. I mean, her dad was out there, the kids were out there, they were all out there. They were just hired help. Yeah. My grandmother hated it. It was picking strawberries. She was like, I hated it. I didn't want to be out there. That blows my mind, though. I mean, my grandmother passed away in 2004. But I always think, you know, about, and I've told her that before too, the things that she had seen, you know, all the way from the Wright brothers, you know, to the telephone you had to ring, 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 and not everybody had one, and it could be one for a bunch of people, you know, all the way down. I mean, then she ended up, she never had a cell phone, but she had, you know, a cordless phone. She never had a microwave until, you know, my grandfather died, and she moved into an apartment by me. I was like, how do you live without a microwave? I mean, she never had one. She also didn't have a clothes dryer. She had a clothes washer. She got a clothes washer when I was like 17, right when I moved out of the house. But there was no place to put a dryer. So she never got, you know, she had a clothesline. And yeah. It cracks me up sometimes. I'll see people post on Facebook, you know, talking about clotheslines, and, you know, it's a solar clothes dryer and, you know, stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, back then we just called them poor. Not innovative, just poor. Oh, Lord. Oh my goodness. And then in Idaho, I don't know if y'all, I try not to watch the news, really, but I do on some things, you know. I know just enough, not you know. Anyway, I was reading about those 2 firefighters that guy ambushed, and it just saddens me, because, you know, my son is a firefighter, and yeah, it just makes me sad. It's like, why would anybody do something like that? I mean, apparently he wanted to be a firefighter, so he probably couldn't, because he did have jail time for assault with a deadly weapon, a knife, on his girlfriend. So I'm sure that right there made him where he could not be in the fire department, because you do have to do a background check and all that. They won't just let anybody, you know, because they're trusting you with a lot of stuff. So anyway, I don't know if that prevented him from, I don't know, but it was like, why would you just set these guys up? You know, if you were miserable, so miserable with your own life, and you felt like you were just never going to be anything, why kill somebody else? You know, I mean, I wish you would have gotten help before you did anybody, including yourself, but it's like, you know, firefighters are running from danger, and you're sitting there hiding out. I don't know. But I can't live in fear. Cannot live in fear. Gotta have faith. I mean, as long as there's a tomorrow, we get to, you know, do it again, right? So I don't know. I just thought that was just so terrible. So tragic. It feels like these days people just kill you, you know? I'm mad at you. I'm just going to kill you. You I think you cut me off, you know? I'm going to have to kill you. You didn't use a turn signal. I think that calls for me to shoot you, you know? I mean, and it's like, what happened? You know, what happened to, you know, F you, you know, and then you go on about your way. What happened to that? Because when I was growing up, you know, it was very common to see guns in the back window of a truck, you know, on the gun rack. And so you can't say, well, you know, you didn't have access to guns. No, we had more access to guns, okay? And you could bring them to school. It was not unheard of. Yeah, I mean, so people were still had them, okay? Still had more access to them for sure. And, but I don't know. It's like now, people just soon kill you. They just soon kill you. It's like, what are you doing? Why? You know, do we really not respect each other? That we don't, do we? We don't respect each other's rights. We just don't. And I think we all have an attitude, not all of us, obviously, but, you know, I better get in there and, you know, be the me first. But it's like, you know, I don't know about people. I do not know about people. And now people will boycott and protest over the most asinine things. I mean, I had my stance when I was a kid. Me and my friends, we did a protest. It's called Kids. We were protesting for Kids Day. Because, you know, there was Mother's Day, there was Father's Day, you know, all these things. And I decided, well, Max just got home, so they're going to bark. You know, we're going to have Kids Day, and we're going to protest. Me and there's three of us all together. We made signs. We went up and down the street. And then my grandmother looked out the window and saw us, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, we deserve to have a Kids Day." And she said, "Seriously? You know, every day is Kid Day, okay? So put down your stupid sign and get inside." And I was like, "Oh, you know, I guess when you put it that way, okay. I mean, there's my birthdays, and then there's Christmas, and, you know," I was like, "Okay, all right." And that was the end of my trying to change the world. We need a Kid Day, and I had myself all hyped up. We need a Kid Day. Yeah. My friends were just like, "Okay, we'll go. If you're doing that, we'll walk alongside you." Yeah. And my grandmother was like, "The fact that you're out there protesting and not in here helping me clean is Kids Day." Oh, okay. I think she did. I think she said, "Come on and help, you know, you come in here and help me clean some baseboards." What? I don't want to do that. Yep. That's funny. Kids are funny. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder how my grandparents didn't just, like, smack me. But I don't know. I know they rolled their eyes a lot. They probably were laughing, to be honest. Probably thinking, she has no idea how stupid she's being. And then, of course, I had kids, and I totally understood why Kids Day was stupid. Because it's true. Every day is Kids Day. So, and so many of those other days are just Hallmark days, you know? Just for commercialization. Which is fine, because I like Father's Day and Mother's Day and all of those days. One holiday I don't really care for, and that is Valentine's Day. And to be real honest with you, it's not because I'm anti-Valentine's or anything like that, but, you know, I get it when you're young and all of that, you know, "Oh, look, somebody wants me to be their Valentine." It's all, "Aw." But it has taken on a whole nother life, okay? I mean, I'm amazed at the parents. And I think it's commonplace now for parents to get their kids, or they get their kids gifts, almost like Christmas, you know? And I thought that was just so bizarre, you know, so bizarre. And so what I would do then is like, well, I didn't want to be the, you know, the lone mean mom, which, you know, probably was anyways, but then I get them a thing of candy, you know, something like that. Here you go, Happy Valentine's Day. No cards, no gift wrap, you know, none of that. But because when I was growing up, That was between my grandmother and my grandfather. And then, you know, they got their, you know, he got her, you know, 11 box of hearts, chocolate hearts or something like that. And, you know, I don't know what she got him. It was nothing big, I can tell you that. And I certainly never got anything, and I didn't expect anything. And none of my friends did either. It was like, no, we did our Valentine's at school, you know, and that was the big thing, to see who put what, you know, in your box. And, you know, we had a shoe box for Valentine's. And yeah, that was the extent of that. And then as I got older, you know, you did want a date for Valentine's. You know, it's like, I need a date now. I don't want to be alone on Valentine's. So you try to make sure you had somebody, at least for the 14th. Y'all can split up on the 15th, but at least on the 14th. And I don't know. I just don't see the, I don't know. I just think it's a silly holiday. That's what I think. Like I said, unless you're young and stuff. But I bet you a lot of y'all do give stuff to your kids. And a lot of people do. I mean, especially now. It's like, and they do. It's even Easter. I mean, when I was a kid, well, the only time I got an Easter basket was when my neighbor across the street brought me one. Other than that, I did not get an Easter basket. Easter was about Jesus rising from the dead. It had nothing to do with an Easter bunny or eggs. And I know people now are like, oh, well, you know, the egg represents fertility. And it's like, no, you just took a pagan holiday, which is fine, you know, you can still have holidays, and tried to turn it into, you know, something religious. You know, it's like, I guess you can make anything turn that way. But anyway, so I didn't get an Easter basket. And my kids, they did. They got an Easter basket. But as soon as they quit believing in the Easter bunny, you know, and I did try to drive home the fact that, you know, this is, you know, the day that the Lord rose and, you know, all that stuff. But I quit getting them Easter gifts. And now, I mean, it's like, oh no, it's a thing. Like, why is this a thing? I mean, they're getting big stuff like video games and stuff, not little candies and coloring books and stuff. No, no, no. It's like, dang. No, we're not doing that. Now, at Christmas, yes. My kids, I was blessed that we did not have money, mind you, but my grandparents worked hard to make sure that I had a good Christmas, and I did. But you know, I was also raised as an only child, so you know, they weren't having to buy for multiple children. That would have changed everything. But but yeah, my kids got, I mean, I had 3 of them, and if they wanted it, they got it. And they were famous for waiting until, you know, Christmas Eve to go, you know, I think I would rather have such and such. And it's like, what? Oh, Lord. So, well, this is what you're getting, you know. So, all the way up until, you know, they didn't believe anymore. And even then, I still tried to get them everything they wanted, within reason. And, but yeah, then when they started getting, we're like, we don't want to get up, you know, we want to sleep in. I'm like, okay, well, the whole happiness for me in Christmas is watching your face light up, you know, when you see these gifts. And if now you're not going to, then I just don't see the point in putting as much effort into it. So, now, I'm getting closer, y'all. I mean, that's pretty much this all the way up till you get to her face. So. Yeah. I don't know how much I'll get done on her, but I'll do my best. I will do my best. So. Uh-oh, another trashy mashy. Oh dear. Come on down. So yeah, my dad's doing good. He has a dermatologist appointment. When does he have that? He has 2 appointments coming up. One is with the pain management doctor for his knees. Because he's too old for a knee replacement. It's too late. So now he's just got to do something to manage the pain, injections or, you know, whatever they can to manage it. And, you know, the thing is he can walk. He can. He just can't walk very far. And, you know, he could also, I told him, I said, well, you know, that's why you need like a little rascal or something when you go to the casino, you know, so that you can, because it is a lot of walking at a casino. And, but let me tell you something. He reminds me of my grandmother in that, you know, people think I'm a cripple, you know, and it's like, it's okay, you know, if it helps you from falling, you know, because if you fall, guess what you're going to be? You're going to be in a wheelchair. That's just all there is to that. You're going to be in a wheelchair. Probably for the rest of your life, which I guess would probably just kill him. So I think he's really coming to terms with the fact that, you know, I am old, and I understand that, because I mean, you know, of course I'll be 62 next month, and that sounds a lot older to me than the way my brain feels. My brain feels like I'm still, you know, I don't know, 30s, 40s even, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I can remember my 20s and 30s like it just happened, you know, like it wasn't that long ago. And then you start doing the math, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, it was a very long time ago. And yeah, it's crazy. Crazy. So I can only imagine. And, you know, it's easy for me to say, well, you could, you know, because he thinks if he does that, then he'll forever be like that. You know, like if I ever, you know, start using a wheelchair or something, I'll never get out of it. And, I mean, he's got a handicap placard. He will not get handicap plates, but he won't use it unless there is literally no other places to park. And even then, he's like, I don't like taking it from other people. You know, I'm like, you know, it's like you are legit, you know. And he's like, no, I don't. What if somebody can't walk at all, you know? And I'm like, okay. So, I mean, he'll look for a non-handicap spot before he would even consider using his placard. Which, you know, I think is great, honestly. But just means that when it is time for him to slow down, it's going to be very hard for him to do so. And I get it. Like I said, I get it. And if I'm lucky, that will be my problem too one day. I will be the same thing. My kids will be like, oh God, she's driving. Because I think, like, oh, I could give up driving. But I don't think so. I mean, I say that, but then when I wanted to go somewhere, I'd be like, well, I'm going to get in my car and go. I don't want to sit here and wait for someone to take me. And he's always fixed everything himself, you know, and he went to change the oil in his truck and bought all the stuff to do it. He's been doing it his whole life. And, you know, he tried to get down there to get under the truck. He couldn't do it. He had a hard time getting back up. And then he was like, okay, someone else is going to have to change my oil. I can't believe this. I cannot believe that I can't change my own oil. And then he finally got someone to, well, his son got someone to, you know, my brother got someone to mow his yard, but he would only agree to every 2 weeks because he still wants to get out there once a week and mow his grass, you know, because he always has. I'm like, you should be happy that you don't have to do that anymore. You know, I mean, it's one thing doing it because it was necessary. I get that, but it's not necessary now, you know. Someone can do it. You don't have to. You can afford it, you know. Like, yeah. But you might say he's a little bit of a rocket. Thirsty, thirsty. Thirsty, thirsty. So as you can see, these sections don't take long. I don't think they take long. What time did I come up here? Gosh, I hope I'm not making the longest video known to man. Although I think some of y'all had said you prefer longer videos, which I get, because if you're, you know, diamond painting along, then yeah, you don't have to change anything. Oh yeah, I'm gonna need some more of these. The thing is there's two different symbols that use the same 3750. Isn't that just crazy? I don't know. I'm not real sure what happened, but okay. At first I was like, oh, something's wrong, you know. She was like, no, that's just the way it is. Okay. All right. If you say so. Y'all, it has been so hot here. It really has been, yeah. It definitely is Julying out there, I can tell you that. It is Africa hot. I see where it is in the UK and stuff too, which, you know, okay. I can tell you that when it's, when we get snow or ice here, people laugh at us because, you know, our whole city shuts down. And they're like, oh my gosh, you know, we're so used to it. So, well, we're not. So when it happens, you know, we don't have the equipment really to prepare. And so, you know, it shuts us down. Well, then, you know, you get to places that don't really get hot spells. I mean, yeah, like sweltering heat. So they're not prepared for it. And, you know, so there's not a lot of air conditioning. And you can get window units and stuff, but they're not very efficient. So, yeah, it's bad. I mean, I used, when I would go visit in the UK, it was like, I can't, you know, I gotta have a room that's got an air conditioner in it, because even though you say, well, you know, it's 70 out, or, you know, in the 60s outside, well, it's not in here. So I like to turn, because I sleep with my air conditioner on 66. So, I mean, I want it to be cooler. And I just don't know how people do it. I just don't. I mean, you can't really sleep with your windows open anymore. We did that when I was a kid. We didn't have central air and heat when I was a kid. We had, Well, we had a thing called attic fans, which are a joke. Ours didn't really work anyway, and when it did come on, it was just a big dust storm inside the house. So that just never got used. And then my grandfather bought a window unit. Well, that was great, you know. He had it in the living room, and I'm a little bit that way, you know, because back as a kid, I was like, why is this in the living room where nobody gets to enjoy it? Although we would go camp out in there, we'd go sleep on the floor in there, but I'm the same way. It's like, no, we got to keep it up here for when company comes over. But yeah, I can remember, oh my gosh, being so hot. I remember, I guess it was 80. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 80. We had a hellacious heat wave, and I mean hellacious heat wave. I mean, it was like, I don't know, it was setting records. It was like 110. I mean, it was just crazy. And we would just sit there and take, you know, it was like one after another taking cold showers, which really I think was worse, because then you got out, you know, it felt hotter for some reason. But yeah, I mean, you only showered not to really get clean because you really weren't dirty, but you were so hot. And we made pallets in there on the floor, and then my grandmother tried to block off that room from, you know, with blankets and stuff so the air would stay in there. And that was nice. That was nice. We also got cold because we did have a heater, but it was one that was like in the kitchen, and it was built into the wall, and it ran off of gas, but it didn't get to the whole house. You know, it didn't do the whole house. And Nanny was always too afraid that a space heater, you know, was dangerous. And I mean, we did have one, and I burnt myself on it as a kid. Anyway, that's another story. Oh, I forgot these. But you know, it wasn't so bad being cold because we had electric blankets, but we, you know, you also just put on warm PJs, you know, put on extra blankets. And I always slept so much better as a kid, and I still do to this day. So like, I don't like the heater to come on while I'm sleeping. I mean, I'll set my heater like 60 degrees. It's like, okay, that's about as, because for whatever reason, the heater at 66 is a totally different feel from the air conditioner at 66. I don't know what it is. It's just, it feels stuffy to me. So, yeah. But yeah, I try not to turn the heater on. Oh, Lord. Look at this. Just look, Leanne. You've made a mess. Get over. All right, everyone. Uh-oh. Hang on. Hold on. This one got put in upside down. There. Okay. Now, we got one right here. There. Okay. I think that's all of them now. So anyway, I guess I'm going to go have some dinner. The plan is to go live tomorrow, which is Wednesday at 2. So yeah, I hope to see you then. Have a good rest of your evening. Well, if you're watching this live and it's evening for you. Otherwise, just have a good rest of your day, morning, night, whatever time it is where you are. And like I said, if you're new and you would like to see, I don't know, more diamond painting content, please, I'd love to see you back. Hit the subscribe button. And if you don't mind, on your way out, if you please hit the thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. It's supposed to help the channel. And I just found out how to look at that, and my channel has 99.5% likes. Of course, that automatically makes me go, somebody hated me. But, you know, I try not to look at that, but, you know, anyway. So, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Alrighty, bye.